Welcome to the Biz Bash podcast, where we make biz strategy a piece of cake. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cami, but you might know us better as Eliza Ann Calligraphy and Cami Monet. We want to help you, our fellow stationers, artists, and calligraphers, confidently build a profitable and personality-driven creative biz.
We're here to share our honest-to-goodness advice and actionable strategies for ambitious artists.
So put on your party hat, quit being a procrastinator gator, and let's get this party started.
Welcome back to the Biz Birthday Bash podcast for the very last episode of 2020. The worst year of our lives. No, I'm just kidding, guys. This year has not ended super terribly. Actually, I can say when I look back on it, there's so many things that turned out really great, lots of growth that happened. And of all things, today is Q and Cake number 20. Number 20 for the end of 2020. I mean, how serendipitous.
It's meant to be. It really is. We timed it perfectly. See?
We didn't even know. I know. It just happened. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start answering these questions from you guys. We have some juicy ones today, like really intense. I'm just kidding. They're not that intense. But I was like, okay, this is a good change of pace. Sometimes we get things that are similar from the past questions we've had and stuff. So we're going to mix it up a little bit. But we're going to start off with a cool, easy breezy one for Cami. Cami, how do you start selling wholesale and how do you work out your wholesale prices? I have no idea where to start, but I would love to sell to my local shops and businesses. And this is from @KGH Illustrates.
Oh, okay. So I could go on for hours about this, but I'll keep it short and sweet. So to start selling wholesale, you first need to make sure that your profit margin on your products is able to actually work for wholesale pricing. Typically, Keystone wholesale pricing is right at 50% of your retail price, but you can play with that a little bit, but that's typically what retailers expect. So if it's over 50%, they're going to be like, why is your wholesale price more than 50%? Or did I say that right? You guys know what I'm trying to say. Why is it more than 50% discount? So you need to be sure that your profit margin is able to work with chopping your prices basically in half. So if your retail price for something is $20, can you actually sell it for $10 and still make a profit? That's the first thing you need to do to start working out your wholesale prices. And then when it comes to actually selling wholesale, shop owners might be initially wary if you have less than 10 products, like 10 greeting cards or 10 prints just really isn't going to cut it unless they're like these really solid like not one of a kind type items, but like things like planners that are more standalone items. I think we've talked about this before on one product episode. I don't remember which one. But Katie Hunt from Proof to Product has an amazing podcast with awesome resources about wholesale. And she always recommends to have at least 48, it's like 46 or 48. I don't quite remember, 46 or 48 items in your product line to get started with. That just gives retailers enough to meet your minimum order and give them options. They don't have to buy literally your entire line to reach an order minimum. And then in terms of just getting started, make a list of boutiques or local shops you see when you're out and about and write down their information so you can follow them on Instagram, try to make those initial connections, comment on their stuff, engage with them, send them an email, let them know, hey, I'm a local artist, here's my stuff, and make sure you have an easy way for them to buy. Right now, I'm using Faire, and then there's also Shopify's new platform that just came out called Handshake that you have to apply to be on, but there are no commission fees on that. So a great thing to start checking out. Also, you could get your catalog going. I still don't have a catalog, and I'm doing fine with wholesale, so I feel like 2021, maybe catalogs aren't going to be as big of a thing. It's more about like online and digital stuff, especially as we go to like virtual trade shows. I feel like I'm just rambling, but I have so much to say, you guys.
No, you have a lot of good things to say. Like, this is all really good stuff. I wanted to hop in too in terms of, because you had mentioned, like grab information of local shops and businesses. I would really make it a point to like walk in those as well to make sure that your line is a good fit for that shop. Because it's going to be really obvious to the shop if you didn't even do your research. So like say that there's like a shop who like has a ton of products that like maybe they use the F word. They're just like more edgy, like really bright, bold colors. And you have like soft watercolors that are very like proper. Like that's not a right product fit for them, and it's going to be super obvious to them that you didn't even like walk in, you don't even really know them. So I would say be really intentional with the shops that you do contact so that you can confidently say like that you feel your product is a good fit. I don't know. Am I in the right mindset there, Cami?
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure your products are a good fit. But like, even if you can't walk into every single one, because there's shops all over the country too, like following them on Instagram and just getting kind of their vibe is a good way to check it out too. But it's interesting too, because a lot of shops that I'd be like, oh, I would never necessarily pitch to them, but they end up buying tons of my stuff. So I would also like give you advice to not only want to go for like the really cute, trendy shops that you would just shop at, like kind of think outside the box too, because a lot of my best wholesale customers are stores that I never would have like thought to reach out to or what I thought would have been a good fit. But they're like, I keep selling out of your stuff. Like I can't keep it enough. Like it's just very interesting to me. Or their Instagram feed just isn't pretty and cute. And you're just like, whatever. I'm just going to like brush them off because they don't have like this perfect curated like online aesthetic, but like their in-person stuff is so much better. Like I just have noticed that recently with like a lot of shops that like I'll follow them on Instagram after they buy a ton of stuff from me. I'm like, I literally never would have had them on my radar based on their Instagram. But yeah, you definitely still want to make sure that you are a good fit for their shop and not just being like sending canned emails where it's like very obvious you just copied and pasted to different shops, because they want to know why you're reaching out to them, why you think it'd be a good fit. So mention it if you see something on their Instagram, like, oh, they have really cute holiday displays in their window or something like that. Be like, I love what you did this year for Christmas. It was so thoughtful and cute. Your store always looks like a magical winter wonderland, things like that. And I don't know, just keep it personal when you're reaching out to them. Don't be afraid to follow up a couple times, because most shop owners are super busy. They don't have time to open all their emails from wholesale pitches. But also don't be offended if you don't get a response back, because that's kind of the name of the game with wholesale pitches.
Cami, so, yeah. I just had like a brilliant idea.
Yes.
Maybe it's stupid, but because I was thinking about the fact, that I've been teasing you, like you don't have a catalog, blah, blah, blah. I've given you such a hard time about that. But you're right. Like it's worked out for you really well so far. Like
I still want to make one. One point of that.
I was going to say, for people who, if you have a really good online setup through Faire or through Handshake or whatever platform you're using for people to purchase wholesale from you, if you still want to send a physical mailer, you could do like a one-page mailer with some of your hit products, your top sellers. Yeah. And then you could do like a QR code. Like it could have a cute frame and be like, check out the rest of my products here.
Oh, cute. Yeah.
Right. And so then it's like, oh, that's kind of fun. And then they end up pulling it up on their phone, and then they're looking at your website right away. So that could be a fun way to kind of grab people's attention in the future. If it's like you want to do a mailer, but you don't want to do like full-blown catalog mailer, but you still want to get their attention.
I love that. That's really cute. And you know what? I think it's so funny because QR codes are totally making a comeback. Like I remember when I was in college and they were like this whole thing, and like my business card was literally just a square QR code. And I thought I was like the coolest person, like passing that out to these like magazine executives in New York City. And I was like, yeah, this is my website. And they were like, oh my God, the QR code's so trendy right now. And then it became like super outdated for like, I don't know, the past 10 years. And now it's like cool again because you're scanning for menus at restaurants and all this stuff. It's just crazy. Like even QR codes are making a comeback.
I think QR codes were ahead of their time. I truly do. Because like, yeah, it was trendy, but most people were like, also, what is this? Like people were like, oh, wait, so I have to use the camera on my phone. Wait, what? I have to have an app to scan this? I remember there being like a lot of like confusion around the QR codes too. And now it's just like, oh, like something's clicked. Like, I don't know, like maybe the human race is advanced enough technologically, like mentally to comprehend the full, full capabilities of QR code. But that is funny that you bring that up because I remember that too.
I know. Like I literally have I used to be a magazine editor for my university's magazine, and one of the articles I wrote was about QR codes and how it's like the hot new thing. I'm going to send you a picture of that after this because it's cracking me up. I know I have one in my office. But I think it was like QR codes were cool, and then people were like, why don't I just type in like the website address? Because we didn't have like super super fancy cameras that are so fast now. Like the iPhones are so quick, you know, and it was just like, okay, like you had to have an app to download scan QR
Yes, you
codes.
did.
Yeah, and now it just works. So
It's just your phone camera. It's so easy. That's why I'm saying I think they were ahead of their time
they
because
totally were.
now in terms of like the way we process things mentally and the way we use technology and just how much better technology is, it's crazy. Like the human mind can't even fathom, it can't even like understand how fast technology is evolving.
I know, 100%.
I like how this like wholesale question just devolved into a discussion about QR codes.
Close enough. All right, it works.
But for at KGH Illustrates, I hope that at least helps with having like a baseline understanding. And like Cami said before, Katie Hunt of the Proof to Product podcast, her information is fabulous. She has some wonderful guests. And for more information in that realm, like specifically to that, I would highly recommend that.
Yes, for sure. Okay, question number 2. All right, I'm based out of a city just outside of Toronto in Ontario, Canada, and just recently started my own stationery business. Woohoo! That's me adding the woohoo. There's another fellow stationer who lives in a nearby city 20 minutes away who is successful, always busy, and who I actually admire and look up to. Would it be a good idea to reach out to her for some mentorship, or would that be a bad idea since I guess I would be her competitor? And this is at @inkandvellum_.
Ooh, so many things about this question because I have a lot to say about like the reaching out and the mentorship part. But do you know what caught me the first time I read through this, Cami?
What?
When she says another fellow stationer who is successful, always busy. That like caught my eye because I think it's really easy for social media to make it look like we're super successful and always busy. Like that might not be the case. This is the craziest thing where I have like actually gotten coffee with people in person before and like made that connection thinking that like they're doing these huge weddings, they're like super quote unquote successful, they have it all together, and then I meet them in person and it totally blows the like social media, what do you call that, Cami?
Like a facade kind of thing?
Facade. And I'm like, oh wow, like you did like 2 weddings last year, and in my mind I thought you were doing like 20 or like 25, you know, like social media can make it look like someone has it all together. And I'm not saying this girl doesn't, because she very well could, or guy could totally have it all together. But I just thought like that part of the question was so interesting to me.
I know, that is such a true thing. Like we have no idea what's actually going on behind the scenes, but but in terms of reaching out to her for some mentorship, or being a bad idea since you're her competitor, technically, I would not frame it as reaching out to her as a mentorship thing. I would, if you just truly want to get together with her because you guys are both stationers and you'd love to meet her, I would just say like, hey, I really admire you. I would love to take you out for coffee and just get to know you. And, you know, we're both stationers. I thought it'd be cool to just connect and network together and maybe we could refer each other. If we have similar type of clients, just make it more about like an actual relationship instead of a mentorship. But don't expect to get that from her the first time you meet her, like she's going to be your mentor. I would, if you wanted to bring that up, I would do it like in person and say like, I'm interested in having a mentor. Is that something you offer? And not so much like, I need a mentor. Will you be? Like kind of thing.
Right.
Like, you gotta like toe the waters, or what am I saying? Tread lightly here, because a lot of times they're not going to want to give away their secrets. And she might even say like, hey, I actually charge money for an hour consultation with me or something like that, and just be prepared for that as well. So I kind of want you to like figure out what you actually want from this relationship. Are you looking to just connect with someone who is in the industry as well and is similar to you, and you're like, we're both stationers, we're going to be instant friends? Or are you really looking for someone to be a mentor and solely that, and have that type of a relationship? Because if that's the case, you're probably gonna have to pay for it, I would imagine.
Yeah, building off of that, because everything you said was really good. If you ever bring mentorship up, I would actually ask her straight up, what do you charge? Like I would not even have that conversation without putting that foot forward first, with the expectation of knowing you will have to pay for her expertise. Because I swear there is nothing more annoying or like disheartening than being asked like for mentorship or for time or advice without any sort of compensation. And it gets really awkward then, where it's like, No, I do charge, $150 for a 1 hour consult call. And then people are like, oh, well, obviously, they can't afford that or they don't want to pay that or whatever. So if you are looking for a mentor, this goes for anybody who reaches out to anyone in the creative industry who's ever going to ask for a mentorship. Just in that email, ask what their prices are because you should expect to be paying. That's just me.
No, that is so true. Like it initially shows that you respect the other person's time, expertise, and like the work they've put in over the years. Like I completely agree. Like I do get super frustrated. People are like, can you mentor me? And I'm like, well, no. But I do have a podcast you can listen to. Like I literally got a message about that this morning. It's not even like the person, it's someone who wants to connect me with someone else and be like, can you just talk to her? I'll just set you up with my friend. I'm like, no. I don't know. Like I don't even have time to hang out with my own friends and family, much less someone I don't know and give them free business advice for an hour.
Right. Right.
Oh,
I agree. I agree 100% about framing it in the way that you would like to meet for like friendship and networking purposes. Like, it's so cool that you're a fellow stationer. Like, this is how my friend Rebecca and I actually became such good friends because she had reached out to me via email because she was like, I'm moving from Charlotte to the Atlanta area. I noticed we do the same thing. I would love to meet up with you and like we can talk about it basically. And I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. It wasn't like, I want to pick your brain or I want to do this. I want something from you. It was like that mutual connection. And now we have actually like been friends ever since.
yeah.
And she also probably caught me at a really good time too, because like, who knows, some days like mentally, I'm like, the last thing I want to do is try to meet another person. But I always thought the way that she had like reached out was really good. And then Will and I got our second apartment because of her anyways. So once again, very serendipitous. That's the theme of this episode.
Yeah. And there's 3 other calligrapher stationers here in the Central Florida area. We used to get together fairly often. Now we haven't got together in so long, but there's 4 of us. We would go to dinner and stuff and just like talk about, our clients and other stuff people don't understand unless they're stationer. And it was never like about mentorship, but we still learned a lot from each other and we're giving each other advice. But it was just fun to like actually have someone who understands what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Totally agree. Okay. Hopefully at Ink and Vellum, that covered everything that you asked. And moving on to the next one, this is from at TCOFERRR. So I'm not even going to try to say it because I don't think you can pronounce that. TCOFERRR.
It's
Tickle fur. Hey there. Right now I am selling custom acrylic dog paintings. I only offer one size canvas for a single dog, an 11 by 14, and one size for multi-dog, 16 by 20. Do you guys think I should offer multiple size options or keep it simple with what I'm already doing?
Well, me personally, I like to keep things as simple as possible because once you start offering a ton of different options, you just open up the floor for more questions. Or like, I see you have like, can you also do this? And then you start offering custom one-off things and it just becomes a whole thing. And when it's very simple, I feel like it's easier for them to buy and that they don't have to choose from like 8 different size options and like get confused. And half the time they don't even know what sizes they want. They just want like the cheapest one possible. So keeping it very simple is, oh, hello, kitty, is very nice to like just make it very easy. Like they have 1 dog or they have 2 dogs. Like that is it. And then I have occasionally done like where I do like a special mini version of pet portraits and I'll only offer like 5 or 10 at a time and do like a discount on them and be like, I'm only offering 10 spots for the 5x7 mini size. So you could even incorporate that into like special edition sizes, but whatever is easier for you. Like it has made it so easy for me to keep everything like as streamlined and almost like, I don't want to say like factory like, but just like where there's not 5,000 different options. Like I know I'm going to do an 8x10 pet portrait and I'm going to have like all my materials. I need to package up an 8x10 pet portrait because once you start offering different sizes, you're going to need materials to ship all those different sizes. And it feels like it's going to be very easy and then it's not. So I would just caution you if you do want to offer other sizes, what are your customers asking for? Like, are they asking for 8x10? Then maybe add that, but keep it as simple as possible. You'll thank yourself in the long run.
I'm once again going to build off of that because I have a little bit different perspective for this because like I haven't really ever done pet portraits, but I've hired someone to do one before. For a single pet, an 11 by 14 is really big. I personally would not buy an 11 by 14 because I really wanted an 8 by 10 of both of my pets because I wanted them framed next to each other. And also 16 by 20 is like pretty big too. So like I would maybe try to factor in like an 8 by 10 in this situation just for that reason, because I think you could be losing out a little bit on the market of people who don't want something that big on their wall or that big of their pet, you know, like you don't know what they're planning. So Cami made a really good point. Like, what is your audience asking for? So I would say like poll people to see what sizes they really want. If people are happy in ordering those sizes from you, stick with it. If not, then maybe make an adjustment. But you're already shipping things that are 16 by 20. So I think it's like easier to ship something that's smaller, honestly, than like sizing up and shipping something bigger. That's just like my 2 cents. Like I think it should be an 8 by 10, an 11 by 14 for the single dog, and then an 11 by 14 or 16 by 20 for the multi-dog. Also, like painting an 11 by 14 for every single dog portrait that's like big. I don't know. Like, is your hand hurting yet?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's totally up to you. And we don't know what type of like artwork she's creating or he's creating. It could be like really like big brush strokes, and like I mean, it's acrylic. It could be totally different, but like your process changes with different sizes, or at least mine does. So I don't know. Yeah, totally up to you. But Elizabeth made a good point about polling your audience. I would definitely do that and see what they're liking, because if they're liking what you're doing, then if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yes, I know. That is very, very true. And yes, her name is Taylor, and it's a girl. Okay. And because I just stalked her on Instagram. So Perfect. Hi, Taylor. Sorry that we did not know how to pronounce your username. But I don't see pictures of your artwork, girlfriend. I want to see pictures of your dog portraits. All right. I'll do a deep dive some other time to stalk her and
we
find
will
more.
Stalk you thoroughly.
All right, Cami, do you want to read this next one?
Yeah, this one says, this is from @Michelle Calligraphy, and it says, how do you gain acceptance from other creatives in the industry? Background: I found that most calligraphy creatives are not very welcoming to newcomers and don't seem to want to share resources like you all have. It's been pretty disheartening. I've also found photographers to be the exact same way. For example, I had a client deliver images from their wedding of some signage I did. I put them on my website crediting a photographer, so I messaged her on Instagram to let her know and tell her how gorgeous her work is. She read the message but never responded. I wish I could say this is a first, but sadly it's not. Any tips on how to be welcomed in the creative community would be great.
And it's from?
Oh, I said it earlier. Michelle Calligraphy. Again.
You did? Are you sure you said it? That's so funny. Yeah. My like brain totally bleeped it out for some reason.
No worries.
It's because it was a long question. So by the time we got to the end, I was like, had forgotten that you said who it was from. Okay, I'm gonna like dive back into the middle of the question first. Okay. Don't feel bad if she didn't message you back. This happens like a lot depending on how many DMs you have or emails or text messages, whatever it is. People sometimes just forget to respond. Like she might not have been like trying to slight you in any way, if I had to imagine. But I would say the next time that you get images back from a client, I would say try to build the relationship with the photographer first. So maybe go to her to be like, hey, so-and-so bride and groom or so-and-so client provided me with the images from their wedding day. Your work is absolutely stunning. I saw 3 photos of my work I would really like to put on my website. Is it okay if I do this while crediting you? I'll make sure to link back to your website, et cetera, and start it from there instead of going the other way around, because I think people appreciate being asked for permission. I don't know, that maybe that's just me.
No, I think so. Especially photographers. They really don't like it when you take their stuff with that and then be like, I added your stuff to my website. They're not going to like that. They want you to ask permission first. They're big sticklers about that. So you got to make sure you go credit them, get permission from them before you start sharing their stuff. Even if the client does give you all the images, like definitely follow up with a photographer over email, not over DM, because like Elizabeth said, like she could be getting literally hundreds of DMs a day and not see them, or, just be like, oh, she said something nice and not respond. Like I really try to respond to everyone's messages, and it just gets incredibly overwhelming. So I don't know if I get them or not. And sometimes Instagram, I read it and it goes away. I don't even know. So don't ever let that go to your head. Don't worry about that. It's totally fine.
Mhm.
But email her for permission first.
And I would say, in terms of vendor relationships, our episode with Morgan Ilg was phenomenal, of Lady Ilg Photography. So you can search that wherever you're listening to our podcast. She talks all about vendor relationships, specifically with photographers, because she's a photographer. So you can hear from her perspective what she really appreciates from hearing from vendors, because the client is the one that signed the contract with the photographer. The client has the right to the photos. You, unfortunately, don't. And I know that that's a hard principle I think that a lot of creatives struggle with, because it's well, they wouldn't have those pretty photos of all that stuff if all the people behind the scenes weren't providing the dress and the signage and this and that. That's an argument that's going to go on till the end of time. But at the end of the day, from a legal perspective, the photos still are hers. She granted rights to the client, not to you. So you have to go to her or him first to ask for permission. But let's loop back to the other part about how it just seems like people aren't very welcoming. And what insight do we have on this, Cami? And there's a lot of good insight, I feel but I'm out of breath, so I'm going to let you go.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure that most calligraphy creatives aren't necessarily not welcoming, but you said they don't seem to want to share resources, and it's disheartening. And I can tell you that most of the time people aren't going to share resources with you. If you are DMing them being what printer do you use, or how did you do this? No one is going to share that with you, because I'm not going to share that with you either, even though we do have this podcast and share a bunch of things, because we created the A to Z directory where it's literally paid to get that information from us, or we've worked really hard over the years to pick out vendors and figure out these things, figure out our processes, and make mistakes and failures. And there's just so much of that one, it's impossible to share over DM anyway. And two, it's just someone just DMing me that doesn't necessarily, I don't want to say deserve, that's not the right word, but I just can't get that out to every single person, because we've all worked so hard for it. So it's a very touchy subject to ask another creative where they get their stuff from, especially if you don't have a relationship with them. I always say, well, this is related to my faith, but I always say you can't share the gospel with someone if the weight of your relationship doesn't hold that. And it's kind of the same thing with this. If you don't have the weight of your relationship to ask them, where do you get your stuff printed? It's not going to work. They're just going to blow you off or be like, why are you asking me this? That's so annoying. Because I know as we get more and more experience with our business, we get messages like that all the time. And it's not you. It's just that we get so many of those that people just aren't willing to share. So if you really want to be accepted in this industry and gain friendships, we accept you no matter what. We're big, welcoming, come on, and we want to help you. But you also need to be able to help yourself a little bit too. And we respect people who can do that. We respect someone who can Google and find a printer near them, or make a mistake and be I tried this printer, they sucked. What am I doing wrong? Joining our Facebook group. You got to put in the investment and the effort to kind of create that path for yourself, because you can't just follow in someone's footsteps and expect to gain respect or make any sort of new path. You really do have to create a new path. And then we're oh, that person's doing big things or doing their own thing. They figured out on their own. And other creatives really respect creatives who do that type of thing. That being said, we would love for you to join our AZ directory if you do need help finding more resources and printers and manufacturers. And I feel our community in our Facebook group is literally one of the absolute best things about it. And people say it's worth the money just for that community aspect alone, which sounds like you were kind of missing that. And our community really is super welcoming and will help you. And they are, super accepting. So come on into our community and you will love it.
She might be part of it already. I can't remember, because we see a lot of varieties of calligraphy and Instagram names, but this looks familiar to me for some reason.
It looks familiar to me too, actually, her name.
And I wanted to add to Cami's thoughts. Once again, I'm going to piggyback off that. for gaining acceptance, a lot of times it's about not so much like what they can give you, but what you can, first of all, like provide to them. And second of all, how you can build a relationship with them, which Cami already touched on, like relationships. If you just pop into someone's DMs, like Cami said, and they have no idea who you are, you haven't been following them for long, or you've never interacted with their posts, it's just kind of a bad look. We talk about this a little bit in our Instagram etiquette episode too. It's one of our very first ones. So I was going to say, if you really admire people in the industry, just take time following them and interact with them all the time. Compliment them on their stories, compliment them on the posts that they're sharing, comment genuine things, like not just like emojis, because then maybe down the road they share something that you're curious about. And if you ask them a question, they're going to see that they've had previous conversation threads with you already that haven't been strictly you asking for something, if that makes sense. And also, you just have to be respectful of the fact that like sometimes people just don't want to share. That is a reality. People are very protective of all of the knowledge they have and that they have built over the years. But that is what you need to be doing, like first and foremost. It's just like following other people and interacting with them. And this is something I've been doing with wedding planners for a long time, actually, because it's like I'm trying to build relationships with wedding planners. So for the ones I really admire and love and want to work with, I've been following, and I just replied to like their normal day-to-day life Instagram stories, like stuff that's not even wedding related, because I just want them to like recognize my name and see me in their DMs, not being like, do you want to work with me? Or what did you use for this? Or what did you do for that? You know, it's like I'm not asking for something from them right away. And not to pitch this episode again, but seriously, like Morgan Ilg of Lady Ilg Photography, her whole entire episode that she did with us on this is so good. And I highly recommend listening to that one.
Yes, and I also wanted to add too. I feel like we've added so much to these questions. Like, I don't know how long is this episode already? Oh my gosh. Okay, so I also wanted to add too, like if you did, like I was just trying to think, like what do people say to me where I don't like instantly get mad because they're like asking me, where did you get that or whatever? Because there's some stuff that I'm like so willing to share, like what type of printer I use in my office, like all this kind of stuff. I'm totally fine with like giving that away. But if someone messages me and they're like, hey, I been such an admirer of your work and I love what you do. I love how you run your business. Do you have resources where I could learn from you? Or do you have like some way where I could learn from you? Like something like that where I could be like, hey, I have a podcast. I have these blog posts or I have this directory you can join, like something like that where I could, instead of just being like, how did you do this? You know,
Yes.
like, or you say like, how can I learn from you? Like that way you can still ask them like to learn from them, but give them a chance to give them the way that they are teaching, if that makes sense. Like we have a podcast. People don't understand, like sometimes people don't know that we have a podcast and they'll ask and I'm like, check it out. And they had no idea, you know, but just make sure you give them that chance to be like, what resources do you already have available that I could go soak up all your knowledge from? I feel like that's a good way to ask a question if you admire someone.
Yes. Like, I'm just going to put Holly of Sablewood Paper Co. on the spot because she's amazing. Like, instead of just going to Holly's DMs and being like, where did you get your enamel pins printed? Or where did you do this? Or how do you work with people in styled shoots? You could actually just do an extra step, go to her website, and then you would figure out really quickly that she has a whole entire resource page for creatives. Same with a lot of other people in the industry that are teaching via Skillshare, or they're doing other classes, or they have Amazon resource lists. Like these things are normally very easy to find on people's websites. So I would do the extra step before even DMing them of doing research first. And then if you don't see anything on their website, you could specifically say, I checked out your website. I didn't see learning resources. I would love to learn X from you. Can you please point me in the right direction? Or do you have a fee for XYZ, this or that? You know, frame it in that way because people really appreciate when you've taken the time to look a little bit first rather than treating us like vending machines where you could like put in a quarter and like get the answer that you want.
Except you're not even putting a quarter. You just shake it. You're like, give me your printers.
Yeah, I think Shasta Bell was the one who coined that term, like the vending machine, like DMs or something like that. What she said, it was so funny. It was so clever. And it's so true. Like, because people just want things instantly. And Michelle, this is not a commentary like on you and what you've been doing. This has totally devolved into a whole nother like rant altogether. But hopefully out of all of this cumulative information, you hopefully have some insight into why people are maybe thinking the way that they are when they're interacting with people on social media, and how you can put your best foot forward to actually build some genuine relationships with people.
Boom. I love it. I love it. Okay.
I love it.
Do you have any advice for overcoming the guilt I feel for charging so much for my products? I know they can't really be priced lower, but still feel a pit in my stomach when sending them out to my clients. And this is from @Antarctica Kid.
Yeah, that's right. And art a kid.
Antarctica Kid.
This is a tricky one. You're not going to like the answer because it's not easy. This is really something that comes with time. But I get it 100%. Like when Cammie and I have done summits and we've done other things where we charge a little bit higher of a price point, or something's in $100, like, and we're thinking of all the people who spend their hard-earned money on our resources. I had to deal with this a lot, especially in 2019 with the Stationer Summit, like this overwhelming feeling of guilt for like making money. And I don't even think it's like guilt for charging so much. I think it's like literal actual guilt for making money. And this is a whole weird like mindset and psychology thing. And it's something that it gets better with time, I promise. But the best thing you can do for yourself is to continue to reassure yourself over and over, exactly like what you said to us, like it cannot be priced lower. And also, I am worth it. You just have to like look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and be like, I am worth it. I am worth this. I am making a living for myself and a living for my family. And this is what I have to charge to be paid accordingly to do so. And then you just got to take a deep breath and move on. And that's my answer.
And that's basically my answer too. I will say also, Shanna Skidmore, we talked about her on the podcast before. She has an awesome money mindset course, or maybe it's just like a freebie. I'm not really
back. She's coming back. She took a 18-month or like a year-long hiatus, and I just got an email from her the other day that she's coming back, you guys, and I'm freaking pumped because she does like the blueprint model and a bunch of other things that I have known people who have attended this and have been obsessed with it and love it. So yes, like go to shannaskidmore.com.
I know she has something about money mindset, yeah, and it's awesome. Like I remember hearing her speak at Creative at Heart, and she talked about this, and it all kind of boils down to like your relationship with money, and you kind of have to like get to the root of like why you feel guilty about things. But also coming from like an artistic perspective, I know I would be nervous like sending really expensive proposals. Like sometimes I would put together proposals for my clients. I'd be like, holy crap, like who the heck would spend that kind of money? Like I would not buy this for myself. Like, and just because we think it's so expensive, to our clients, it could just be literally like pocket change to them. Like we don't know. Like everyone's situation with money is different. Everyone's expensive taste level is different. Like expensive means something different to every single person. And like the price is the price. Like you said, like I can't charge this any lower. And you know what I say to get over this? I say add on money to your thing. I say literally raise your price to where you feel so uncomfortable, because I feel like you feel even more comfortable once you do send the lower price. Like if you sent one that was more expensive and someone booked with you, then you're like, oh, I could have been doing it this whole time. Like sometimes you just have to psych yourself out so much and make it even higher. Like not where you just be like, oh, this was $1,000. Now I'm going to charge 20,000, but just like inch it up a little bit just to like, I don't know. I like to challenge myself, and I think it's like a good exercise. So why not just raise it for like $100, $200 and see what happens? But I think it also just comes down to like confidence, and like once you start feeling really confident in your worth, you don't worry about that as much. Like the first few years of sending quotes, I would be so nervous. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can deliver. But now I know I can deliver, so I don't feel that guilt anymore. And so that just honestly came with time and just getting experience and being like, I truly feel like I'm an expert in this field. Like I really do feel like that. And before I was like, I am literally faking it till I make it. So you'll get there with time too. But just like playing around with the pricing, and don't let it scare you so much. Like just think of it as like a number and not so much weight attached to it. Just see what happens.
For sure. Both really good answers.
Yes. Okay. I'm ready. We can do the last one.
Last one. Hello, I'm listening to the episode with Melissa Lynn about avoiding burnout, and man, I feel this, all caps. I'm still balancing my creative biz with my day job. I love the idea of being open about my boundaries and my office hours, and my question is, how can you effectively communicate this to clients and vendor friends without sounding closed off and rude? Thank you so much for everything you ladies do. This is from @the_scribe.
Oh, is this a fellow Tennessee gal? I think so. Okay. Well, I'm not sure. I think I recognize your name. But anyway, one of the easy things to do for putting the boundaries up is make sure that it's in your email signature. That's kind of like the passive way of showing your boundaries, like being like, my office hours are 5 to 8 p.m. every day. Like, I will not answer emails or phone calls during these hours, and then actually stick to your boundaries. Because if you say, like, I only work from 5 to 8 p.m., like if you have a full-time job or something, but you still are answering emails, at lunchtime, then people are going to be like, oh, okay, well, she's available then. So if you set those boundaries, make sure you actually stick to them yourself, because if you can't take them seriously, then no one else is either.
Yeah, 100%. And I was going to say too, our next point in terms of dealing with people who are maybe contacting you via text message or phone calls, the greatest thing you can do is, like Cami said, don't be answering your phone after hours. And second of all, for text messages, you can be like, thanks so much for letting me know. Please email this to me and I will get back to you when I'm in the office tomorrow at 9 a.m. And it's as simple as that. Then they at least know that they're going to get a response from you. It just isn't going to be right that actual second. So it's just about communicating it over and over, making sure it's clear in your email signature, and actually taking the action to do that, or like acting upon your business hours instead of just sending emails all hours of the night willy-nilly, which totally sends the wrong message. So
Yeah.
I'll schedule emails sometimes. If I'm working on them late at night, I'll do like a Boomerang. It's an app through Gmail, and I can schedule them to go out at 9 a.m. the next morning. So it doesn't actually look like I'm responding at 11 at night, if I am doing email.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to say too, like sometimes we get so weird about being like, oh yeah, just email me this and I'll get back to you. We're like, oh my gosh, I am the rudest person ever. Like they're going to hate me. And like genuinely, like they don't care. They're like, oh, okay, cool. I'll email you. But we get so worked up about like if you're a people pleaser like me, you get so worked up about stuff like that. And it's like literally not a big deal. So just remember, like, it's not a big deal. Because sometimes we just get so in our head about like not giving someone what they want right away.
Yep. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-tootly. Well,
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, we did it. We knocked out 6 questions before Christmas, no less, you guys. Oh my gosh. Well, it's after Christmas when this airs, but for us, it's before Christmas. Shenanigans are happening. You know how it is the week of Christmas. It's just crazy.
Speaking of shenanigans, Cami, do we have like 3 minutes to talk about the whole Haley Page thing?
Yeah, I have plenty of time. Like I'm not any rush. Don't worry.
Miss, can we only do 5 questions? I'm just kidding.
I know. Like, oh my God, I feel like I'm talking so much. I don't want to like stress everyone out, but yes, I'm ready.
Okay, well, we have to talk about it because like Cami and I, when holiday breaks happen, just like don't talk at all. And then like we get super, what is it called? Like withdrawal from not talking to each other. And I just know once we sign off on this phone call, we're like not going to talk until the new year because it always happens every single time.
Well, that is so sad. I'm calling you every single day. So freaking get ready.
No, I wanted to talk about the Haley Page thing really quick, guys, because for those of you who haven't seen yet, Miss Haley Page, she is a dress designer for JLM Couture. Well, not anymore. She officially resigned. She is basically losing the rights to her own name. And I just want this to be like a huge wake-up call for everybody right now in the creative industry, because it's a really, really heartbreaking story. And if you go to her like new Instagram account now, which is like, it's all the things that glitter on the gram, all things glitter.
All that glitters on the gram or something
all
like that.
Glitters on the gram. You can watch the Instagram TV video that she put up talking about this and what's going on behind the scenes. But she signed a contract with JLM Couture when she was 25 years old. And she did not have a lawyer who was like present with her in the room to sign or to review the contract or anything before she signed on. And what she didn't realize at the time was that she basically like signed away the rights to her own name. And guys, this is like our biggest fear as creatives, I feel like, because when I was watching this, I was like, oh my God. I was thinking of you, Cami, because I was like, Cami uses her name, Cami Monet, as her business name. And I cannot imagine like the devastation that you would feel if you lost that.
Be so upset. I know. But like, I would be so scared signing a contract with anyone too. Like, I think I'm smarter than to just sign a contract at this point. Like when I first started, I'd be like, sure, I'll sign a contract to do whatever. But like right now I like read everything. So
yes.
You know what I mean?
And so that was one of her things that she said. She had this awesome quote. She was like, I'm going to rebuild my sand castle, except next time I'm not going to build it out of sand, which I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm going to cry. But that she said, she was like, I was so naive when I went into this, and that she has spent a year and a half trying to renegotiate with them a new contract that wasn't as one-sided. Those are the words that she used. And that they weren't going to budge, basically. Like they wanted to stick to those original terms. And so like now they have access to her Instagram account. It sounds like it could be temporary. I think there's still stuff going on behind the scenes, if I had to imagine. But just like, gosh, just do everything in your power to protect yourself. It's why contracts are important, but it's also why lawyers are super freaking duper important as well. So it's like when you're using our template or when you're using someone else's template, to like have that reviewed and looked over again and make sure that it works for your state, that it works for you and your business personally. Like this is just like me on my soapbox being like, everyone, please be careful.
So I know, but this is a really good message to share too. But I just don't understand. Like, does she work under her brand name under the umbrella of JLM Couture, or
so it sounds like JLM Couture was the parent company. Okay. That's the word that keeps being used, the parent company. So in terms of like legality, I'm not sure what that means, but I think it could be, as it continues to go through the legal system, a very interesting case in court, because the lines between business and personal have been very much like blurred. Yeah, they have been crossed. Because on Instagram, when it's Instagram and you're sharing so much of your personal life while also sharing things about business, is it really a business page or is it her own personal page? But because she started, her design name for her dresses is Haley Page, and that's like how she signed on with JLM Couture, like they're now claiming access to rights to all of that, which I'm sure like legally, this is what sucks, because she said she was naive when she signed it. Legally, they probably do have the right to do that. But morally, is it right? That is the question I keep asking. I'm just like,
I saw your comment and I was like, yeah, you good.
I was like, my goodness, I could not help myself. I feel like they know what they're doing is like wrong, because JLM Couture has like shut off commenting on most of their social platforms.
Yeah.
But they made the mistake of only turning off commenting on like 12 to 15 of their most recent Instagram posts, because people scrolled back far enough to find the first one that was allowing comments and have just been ripping them a new one, which like normally I don't like ever join in with like anything like that on social media. But when I feel like it's like when a person and a creative specifically is being wronged by like a big company that has a lot of power, that just like really hits me wrong, you know? Like it's like when artists have their designs ripped off by like Zara or Forever 21 or Urban Outfitters or these companies that have been guilty of doing things like that before. Like it makes me really, really mad. So I'm glad that she publicly shared the story. I hope it doesn't have any legal repercussions for her going forward, because like anything you do and say can be used against you in court. But it's like, I feel like she kind of has the public on her side. Like, I feel like that's kind of a fair.
I definitely think so. I think JLM Couture has really, they're going to need to do some serious damage control if they're, and I think they're going to like, people are like boycotting them and being like, we'll never support you. Like, I mean, PR alone, they got some really bad PR right now. So
yeah, like I've heard,
like, I feel like they might cave just for that, to like if they ever want to like run a successful business again. Like,
right. And I've heard that in like Facebook groups that people are just going nuts, like bridal Facebook groups, like everyone is like boycott JLM Couture, don't use them for anything, like shop for her dresses from other companies or whatever it may be. And once again, like I really don't understand how everything is set up, so I can only speak so much to it. Like who owns the rights for what, or how she sells her dresses, or what she makes from her designs, et cetera, all of that. But yeah, people are going ham. So they definitely do have to do some PR control for sure. But one of the things that I said, and I saw some other people comment this on the post as well, is just you don't get 1 million followers on Instagram by only sharing photos of wedding dresses. You just don't. Like there has to be a personal element to it. There has to be a person behind it to like get that many followers. In the most case, unless you're like Nike, right? Or like a brand that has been building their image for years and years and years and years. But Hailey Page has been, I don't know, maybe she's been doing it for like 10 years or something like that. I'd have to look it up. Like maybe she had a 10-year contract, and I don't know her current age, and how long it's been since she signed the original contract. But I was like, girl, you didn't get 1.1 million followers from only posting dresses. Like people were there like to also follow her and her story and like celebrate that. And that's why it's just like, it's so crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why that's how I even know her. Like, I don't even know what her dresses look like. I just like know that she's like, who she is. So I don't like follow her dresses or anything. And I'm just like, oh yeah, Hailey Page. I know her name. Like, because she's like an entrepreneur who does wedding dresses. I have no idea what her dresses look like. I mean, I couldn't like pick them out of a lineup. I'm sure I've seen some, but right. So it's very interesting. I know. I feel so bad for her. This whole thing is just awful. So it's going to be interesting to watch and see how it plays out for sure.
Yeah, it's a total mess because like she doesn't have any control over the Miss Hailey Page Instagram account right now. So it really still looks like her personal page. That's what's so weird is like the company is like keeping up all the pictures of like her where she's like sharing stuff, or she's like snowboarding, or she's like sitting in her living room with all her sketches. And I'm just like, this is like the oddest thing, ever.
It is. It's super weird.
So here's what I can compare it to. Like Sarah Blakely, who founded Spanx. Mm-hmm. This would be like if someone said to her, or like a company she had signed with, and they were like, you can't have access to like your Sarah Blakely like account anymore, which people are very much there to follow her for her, not just for the fact that she like makes Spanx,
Yeah.
That's why I think there's going to be like a whole nother like legal court battle, like specifically for this and like what constitutes as business and personal when it comes to social media. I mean, it's interesting because I don't know if like a precedent has been set for this yet.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably going to be one of those precedent setting cases. So, we can start a podcast all about that. No, I'm just kidding, you guys.
Yeah.
It's kind of like true crime, except not like true business drama.
Yeah, so go and follow her new page to support her, or the one that she's been starting to like build her new following on. And what is it again, Cami?
I don't know. I'm going to look it up really quick. It's like All That Glitters something.
All That Glitters on the Gram, I think.
Yeah, All That Glitters on the Gram. Yes, that's it.
And so she's at 100,000 followers over on there now, which is awesome. And I like just want her to like get back to that million, and then she can just like forget about that stupidness. But I want her to be able to use her own name. Like that's what's so crazy.
I know. It's like she can't even have her name like in the bio. It's so weird.
Official account of quote unquote a girl you might know. And it's just like like what? Mind-boggling. Anyways, that is our Q and cake tangent for the day, you guys. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Stay safe and stay healthy for the holidays this year.
Well, yeah, I guess the holidays are over when this comes out. Well, no, New Year's. Oh my gosh, is everyone just going to be so excited for New Year's, or is everyone just like, whatever? I don't even know what people's feelings are, but I love New Year's. So
I would say I'm cautious about the new year. Like, I know a lot of things we're still dealing with in 2020 are still going to be around in 2021. But like, I'm excited for it to be January. And that's probably the first time in like many years I can say that, because Cami, you know this, I hate January.
You literally hate January. So the fact that you're even saying that right now, I'm like, oh dang.
Yeah.
But it's like a fresh start.
The books all go back to zero. It's like, bleh. It just feels like a big...
when the bookkeeping goes back to zero, I just instantly feel like a failure on January 1st. I'm like, well, Oh, here we go. All right, got to build it all up again. Like you're feeling real good in December. You're like, dang, I am a baller. And then January hits and you're like, nope, zero.
And I have made $0. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Oh, or you get like Etsy orders in and you're like, sweet, I made $300. I'm $300 for the year. Okay. It just seems so like small.
It's like the buildup of like slowly and surely doing it all over again. And it's so crazy. But maybe I just need to look at it as a clean slate to aspire to even better things.
I know. I'm pumped for January, actually. Yeah, I'm just pumped for everything. I don't even know. I'm just excited. It's going to be good. Like, I got to start getting my Valentine's Day stuff together.
Yeah.
And that'll be good.
You've got this. You've got this. All right, everybody. Thank you for another successful year of the Biz Birthday Bash podcast. You guys have really made it what it is, and please take some time to leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We would absolutely love that. That can be our Christmas gift to us, guys.
All we want for Christmas is 5-star reviews. We love you guys so much, and we hope you have an awesome new year, and we'll see you in 2021.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey there, fellow stationers. Are you creating custom invitations and still sending a lackluster contract that's hacked together with Google searches and generic templates? We've got you.
We've created a custom stationery contract written for stationers by stationers, and it is lawyer reviewed and approved. #LegalRockstar. The custom stationery contract template covers every stationery snafu, protects you and your client's interests, and sets up an expectation of professionalism. We've combined our previous contracts as well as years of experience to bring you a contract that covers your booty and your biz. Become a put-together pro and breathe a sigh of relief knowing that you have a contract that is easy to understand and avoids confusing legal jargon.
The custom stationery contract template is only $297, which is much less than what you can expect to pay anywhere else. And it's written by 2 gals who have seen it all.
Spoiler alert, it's us.
It's time to do things right. Go to bizbirthdaybash.com/contract to purchase and download your copy today. And as a special treat, use code PODCAST2020 to get $20 off. And that's podcast all caps 2020 to get $20 off.
Woohoo!